So thanks for having us. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here again and share some thoughts with you. A few familiar faces over the last, my gosh, this is I think our 6th year come here to ARC since we first started coming here. Can you believe that, Gary? It's been 6 years.
I can't believe that one.
Yeah. I'm Don Pearson with Inductive Automation, and joining me today is Carl Gould. He's our co-director of software engineering at Inductive Automation, so appreciate your attention this afternoon. It's actually always good to be at ARC Forum and to see over the years how many of the themes that you've had at ARC have actually been consistent with a lot of the priorities that we've set for inductive automation and our development and emphasis in sort of facilitating this digital transformation that we all seem to be somewhat involved in here. The theme this year, Driving Digital Transformation in Industry and Cities, has a couple of bullet points that I want to point out that I think will actually connect a little bit to our platform and a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Integrating OT and IT, increasing industrial connectivity while decreasing risk, and rolling out the right mix of technologies at the right time. As I mentioned, these certainly are very relevant to inductive automation, and they're pretty central to what we've done as a company since we were database-centric and based on IT standards from the very get-go. And we've continued to prioritize security in the development of our software products. And we believe we've been pretty thoughtful and intentional in how we've rolled out products that truly empower our customers in this digital transformation journey, when the products are ready to be released, and of course, when the customers are ready to receive and take advantage of those products. From the very beginning, we have had a pretty strong commitment and done many things to get that input to that commitment to our customers as a source of input on where we need to go and what we need to do. It does go back to our CEO, Steve Heckman, who came out of 25 years as an integrator and was very close to customers when he decided what was needed. Customers of himself as an integrator, what do I need to really make products work for my end user customer, and what do those industrial organizations actually need also in order to accomplish their goals? He had a pretty simple mission. It's easy to state. It is to create industrial software that empowers our customers to swiftly turn great ideas into reality by removing all technological and economic barriers. And that's why we created Ingnition in the first place. It's the first truly universal industrial application platform for your SCADA, your HMI, your MES, your IoT, and much more needs you have for your organization. It was released in 2010, and since then there's been a pretty huge response to industry. When we were here 6 years ago, we were quite a different company back then, but I think we've seen quite a bit of growth now. We're actually doing deployments in over 100 countries. We got over 1,900 integrators who are involved in doing those deployments. We are involved in 48% of Fortune 100 and of 29, almost 30% of Fortune 500 companies now are using Ingnition in some form within their organization. And I think a major reason for that kind of growth is because of what I said about trying to stay close to customers and the significance over those years of the development of the Ingnition community is something we didn't even realize. We had no idea what you guys were going to do with this software when we gave you unlimited tags. You went crazy with the subject of tags and created amazing systems with it. But what's happened is that's really informed us as our number one source for trends in the industry and number one source for where we need to go with the software has been that Ingnition community of those customers, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is support the work that those industrial organizations are doing. Over the past 3 years, there have been, I guess, the biggest things that those customers have been asking for from us are the ability to build and grow expanded architectures that go across your enterprise, the need for enhanced security for those architectures, and the growing need for first-class mobile solution for their industrial automation systems. As you can see, those happen to align pretty nicely even with the themes of what this ARC conference is about for this year. These are also the major areas of improvement that we made in the latest release of Ingnition, which is a little bit why I'll try and be kind of low-key, but we're pretty excited about this new version of Ingnition and what's coming out. And we're going to talk about the next evolution of the Ingnition platform today, which is Ingnition 8. Simply put, it is the biggest release of Ingnition since it was first launched in 2010. The latest version of Ignition brings more power, better security, mobile-ready technology, more than ever before in all of those categories, and we really want to share it with you today. So with the time we have, I'm going to actually ask Carl to take the floor in more detail about Ignition 8 and what we bring into the table today. Carl.
Thank you, Don. So we really viewed the opportunity to build Ignition 8 as a chance to take a look at the platform and think about all the experience we've had with customers over the last many years, helping them build systems and work on areas of the platform that needed updating. And so Ignition 8 is packed full of all kinds of very practical, tangible upgrades that are going to help all of our customers, whether they're a small systems integration company or a large enterprise. And there's so many improvements in 8 that we can't really cover all of them in this kind of time format. But I'm going to focus on sort of the highlights that focus around the major areas that Don just mentioned. Because that is really our focus with Ignition 8, is better enterprise architectures, more robust security systems, and better mobile applications. So let's get into it. So enterprise architectures and deployments is kind of a broad category, and there's a number of features in Ignition 8 that play into this topic. And all of the features I'm about to mention, they really shine the more complex an architecture is, a deployment architecture. And enterprise architectures tend to be more complex. So one of the biggest benefits of Ignition 8 is that we've made it much easier for large teams to work together. We've dramatically improved the concurrent design model in Ignition, which means that large teams of application designers and engineers can now work together concurrently in the Ignition Designer on the same project and collaborate without locking each other out of any part of the project. And so that means that big projects can be finished more quickly with much less contention between all of the people involved. We've also really improved how the Ignition platform organizes projects themselves so that they're easier to deploy and manage. And perhaps the most important part of this is that we've added into the project model the concept of inheritance. And what that is going to let you do is much more easily do things like define maybe a corporate standard set of templates or faceplates and automatically deploy them out to multiple sites. And at the same time, at each of those sites, you inherit these standards that are defined at the corporate level and can also override and tweak them and customize them at the site level if needed. So the model is much more flexible and dynamic and lets you both standardize and customize at the same time. And while we were in there, we added compatibility with source control systems to the Ignition project model, which source control system is something like Git or GitHub. That's by far the most popular one. And this is a feature that a lot of our big customers have been sort of beating down our door for the last few years. So we're very excited to be able to deliver that to them with Ignition 8. Okay, so another big important improvement in Ignition 8 is that we've completely re-engineered the underlying tag system in the platform. So one of the things about Ignition that people perhaps like most about it is that it comes with an unlimited licensing model, which means we don't have tag limits or screen limits or anything like that, right? But it turns out that when you give people an unlimited amount of something, they end up using a whole lot of it. So we're regularly seeing systems that customers have deployed now that are pushing past the 1 million tag mark, which is great. Customers are doing big, exciting things with Ignition. We think that's wonderful, but there are some practical challenges that come along with these very large systems. And so these really high tag count systems are starting to see some, slowing down and stuff. And so Ignition 8 was a great opportunity for us to really re-engineer and revamp the underlying tag model so that it is really designed specifically for these very large tag models. So what we did was we optimized the tag engine to optimize the way UDTs are used. And UDTs are user-defined types. That's really how you're going to get a huge tag model, is through heavy use of a UDT. And what we've seen is just absolutely, night and day dramatic speed improvements in the tag system. So editing a UDT that maybe would affect, I don't know, 100,000 tags used to take a little bit of time to apply that update to the tag model. It's now 190 times faster than it was before, so it's basically instantaneous now. So that's a really important improvement because it means that these very large systems can continue to be developed and maintained without having to worry about any kind of slowdowns in a production system. It also just makes the software more fun to use because it's snappy and you can just use a lot more of it, and it remains very responsive. Okay, so security has always been a focus of Ingnition, but the state of the art in cybersecurity has really evolved over the last few years. And so Ingnition 8 was an opportunity for us to evolve our own security model in the Ingnition platform in order to keep pace with the state of the art in the industry. And so the most important security improvement we made in Ingnition 8 is that Ingnition is now compatible with this modern breed of federated identity infrastructure solutions that most large corporations are moving toward. So that means that a large organization or any size organization can now easily integrate Ingnition-based applications with their existing corporate identity management solution. And that gets you things like single sign-on and two-factor authentication and these sorts of modern authentication and authorization strategies that are so important. Okay, so moving right along, our customers have really been needing a first-class, high-performance mobile solution. The mobile devices that have so thoroughly taken hold in our personal lives are playing a larger and larger role in the industrial environment. And there's a lot of really compelling use cases for mobile applications in this industry. So as we approached the idea of designing a new mobile product in Ingnition, we faced a number of really important challenges. How could you make sure this thing is completely secure? Because after all, once it's mobile, its reach is so much broader. It's such a larger surface area for attack. How can we make sure we organize the product itself so that it delivers the kind of application flexibility that Ingnition is known for and is going to be required to be able to build any kind of SCADA, HMI, MES, or any other type of industrial application? We had seen a number of mobile products in the marketplace that just led their systems to be more complicated and more vulnerable, and we wanted to make sure ours made the system more secure and more flexible. And we've spent the last 3 years working on these challenges, so we're very excited to announce the newest addition in the lineup of Ingnition software modules, Ingnition Persepective. Persepective is a powerful mobile visualization tool that lets anybody design in a drag-and-drop development environment a mobile-first industrial application. We made it easy to build and deploy screens using a bunch of pre-built layout strategies that lets you design an application that automatically morphs itself to fit any size screen at any orientation. And this is all possible because Persepective is built using HTML5 and CSS3, which means that this is a pure web SCADA product, which really gives it a great deal of responsiveness and flexibility. That means you can launch a Persepective-based application on any kind of device in any web browser. Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, any modern web browser will run it just fine. It doesn't require any plugins. And to us, a pure web SCADA application system doesn't just mean that it can run in a browser, right? So this isn't a desktop application technology that has been adapted or bridged into a web rendering. This is an application system that was built and designed from the ground up to deliver a mobile-first application experience. And that lets us take advantage of all the amazing power that the modern browser engine brings. Skip in slides, going back. Let's see. All right, so while it is a browser-based product, there's also native applications for Persepective. So that means that you can download a native application on iPhone or Android for Persepective. And that lets us leverage all of the device capabilities that modern smartphones have. So there's so much amazing sensor capability on modern smartphones that open up all kinds of interesting new application possibilities in the industrial space. So for example, maybe you're filling out a maintenance ticket and you can just use the phone on your camera to take a picture and attach it to the ticket. Simple example. You could use the camera on your phone to scan a barcode and present the operator more relevant, timely information about what they're dealing with. You can use the GPS chip to design an application that's location aware to geotag a reading or design a location aware navigation system. We've had customers wanting to use Bluetooth low energy beacons for contextual awareness as they walk through a building. I mean, the list goes on and on and on for all these interesting brand new application possibilities that are opened up because of all the sensor information that's available on the phone. So we're pretty excited to see what our customers are going to do with all this new capabilities. So Persepective is going to give our customers the ability to build these mobile applications that let them bring their process with them. It lets them have a bunch more power to control their systems with the swipe of a finger. You can let people at every level of an organization see and react to data more quickly when the application can come with you in your pocket. And the beauty of Persepective is that it works as a module within an already trusted and established platform. So, you know, Persepective might be new, but Ingnition has over a decade of track record at this point. We've really spent as a company the last 15 years empowering our customers to collect as much data with their SCADA system as possible. And now with Persepective and Ingnition 8, we're allowing them to access and react to that data from anywhere that they happen to be. And it really lets them design a modern breed of application that the modern workforce expects. So to sum up all of these new features and improvements, Ingnition 8 is going to let our users build more advanced automation systems with more sophisticated deployment architectures, and Persepective's pure web, mobile-first structure, and Ingnition 8's enterprise readiness combined means that companies of any size have an opportunity to innovate and lead with Ingnition, whether you're a small firm or one of our Fortune 500 customers. So there's a lot more to Ingnition 8 than I have time to really delve into today. But I will say that we've had a group of 1,000 beta testers in a closed private beta working and testing this product since October. We've had a lot of excitement and great feedback from them. And if you want to see what Persepective looks like in action, the Persepective app is available right now on the App Store or Google Play Store. You can download it on your phone and play around with our demo application, or you can just visit demo.inductiveautomation.com in a web browser on your laptop and play with it in the browser environment. So I'll pass it back over to Don for some closing thoughts.
Thanks, Carl. So just a couple of things I want to say as we finish off here. You can probably see we're a little bit excited. So we're excited about it. And I think we're really thrilled to preview it. We're going to preview it here at ARC, and you can obviously download, as Carl said. And every time we put out a new product, we get pretty amazed at what the industrial customers end up doing with it. For example, I was thinking back to just being in this room. It was like 4 years ago in this room, and some faces here were actually there 4 years ago, we launched something which is now our module showcase, where our integrators and developers could take our platform, they could use our API, our free SDK, and extend with their domain expertise the functionality of the platform out to different industries and verticals. And then 3 years ago, we were here with Arlen Nipper, and we released the Ingnition modules for MQTT, which allowed organizations to shift their architecture and decouple those devices from applications and put data into an infrastructure with a pub-sub architecture that made it much more powerful, which led us to 2 years ago, we were here with Ingnition Edge, our edge and network solution. And when that started catching on last year, we ended up launching the onboard program with Ingnition Edge onboard. And you'll even see a number of companies in our booth here that are taking advantage of Ingnition onboard. Manufacturers are now able to pre-install Ingnition Edge on select devices, and that allows them to meet customers' demands for sort of a all-in-one affordable solution. So all of this has led to the growth of the Ingnition ecosystem. And I think with the release of Ingnition 8 and Persepective, it just opens up the door that much more for that ecosystem to grow and expand and allow individuals to bring domain expertise to multiple verticals and leverage the platform across all those different industries and solution expertise challenges. So with that, we tried to leave a couple of minutes for questions. I'll say this, my last point is, as of today, Carl mentioned 1,000 companies in a beta, but that was a closed beta. As of today, we are in open beta. You can now use 8 for yourselves, download our beta from our website. And we'd also like to say that since I know there's not enough time, tomorrow morning we'll open up this room to everybody, and we have a little breakfast called Persepective with a side of pancakes, 7 a.m. You're all invited, so we hope you'll join us there. And maybe the last question, when are you going to have full Persepective in your hands along with Ingnition 8? It's April, so you're a couple months out. Be ready to roll with it. With that, appreciate being here. Paul didn't have to bring out the hook today, but we've got 30 seconds. So maybe we take one question, and then tomorrow we'll have incidentally, tomorrow we'll do a demo too. Carl will talk a little more. Travis is going to do a demo, so you get a chance to really see some hands-on look at it beyond the limited scope today. One question. Anybody with the one question? Oh, of course, it'll be Mark. Yes, Mark, sir.
So, Carl, as a module of Ingnition, what advantages do you have rather than launching as a separate software?
Well, I mean, the biggest advantage is that Persepective only has to do the one thing it does, which is be a mobile application system. And running on top of the platform gives it access to everything the platform does, the tag model, the database connectivity, the device connectivity. I mean, the platform does all of this stuff, and then Persepective builds applications on top of that. So that's really the big advantage, is not having to start from scratch and being able to focus on just the application building portion of it.
Anybody have a last quick question? You have been alive and awake after 6 hours in the chair today. I want to take you and validate you for being awake and alive. We appreciate being here. We'll hang around for questions, so I know you're going into another press release conference. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, hopefully. With that, thank you.